later on he did that with
machines.
With machines. But I remember the whole 60s. The rooms were full of herbicides in our farm.
And you had bad smell and whatever in the.
They didn't really care. They were joyful because they didn't have to do this hard handwork anymore, and they really liked it. And I remember a lot of white dust on the farm when they went into the cellar or into the barns where they had the herbicides. So there was no mindfulness or no reflecting of that poisoned chemical. And on our farm there were 3 male workers, and they worked with my father in the 60s and the 70s, and they all died within the same year in 1984, all of cancer.
Wow.
And they were about 60 plus at that time, so it's about 20 years after they all died. All the male farm workers died.
So normally, actually at the moment when they retired.
Yes, soon after retirement. It might have something to do psychologically with that, but for me it was all the chemicals they had over the 20 years. Because my mother, she didn't die of it, although she also was a little bit active on the farm, but not so much. So these male workers, they had it in their hands and so forth. My father died when my mother was 58. And she had a very symbiotic relationship with him. And after his death, she became very, very, very sick with her kidneys, and we were very much afraid that she would die. But the doctors helped her to come back to life again. And that's the time when she developed the cancer. She had it for 20 years, but I think she had the cancer out of trauma. She had lost her own father in the Second World War when she was 14, and my father sort of became a little bit her father because he was 10 years older. And you said that 64% of people where a symbiotic partner died are
likely to get cancer.
So my mother, for me, is in that statistics.
So your father is in the statistic of poisoned, intoxication. He was also a strong smoker.
Yes.
Although,
but he didn't have a cancer.
He didn't get a lung cancer. Okay.
No. He is also traumatized in the war. That might have something to do with that. But I just want to explain it. So you can't put it all in one box, the cancer. And if you have 2 or 3 parents and grandparents dying from cancer, it never scared me because I knew there were different reasons for that. And my grandmother, she got cancer too with 95.
Oh.
And I think she just wanted to go, but she didn't die from this cancer. So this is not, a doctor might say if you just have the rare dates, it's in the genetic line, but I never felt that way. And I think this is very important to see what are the causes for cancer.
But many doctors say, or also research science says, it's genetic cancer. It's the most important cause of cancer is the genetic disposition of somebody.
Yes, they might, if they just have the raw dates of my biography, they might say that. But I always look beyond that. And so it never scared me. I never was scared that this is a genetic line or something like that. And my other grandmother, she was also 95. And my great-grandmother, she died of cancer. But
you don't know.
I don't really know about that. So I think it's important intellectually, emotionally, to find the causes of cancer, because if you don't have the causes, you can't transform really cancer. You are in the darkness all the time because you don't know what happened, why did it happen, why to me, and the treatment might be also different.
But normally doctors won't really look after this. Well,
No,
they
they are
do
not
some
trained that
testing.
way.
They test your blood. They will test
Yes.
you. But I think in Germany, we learned yesterday in the interview with Luther Hirnhausen, the doctor, cancer doctor, talks about 7.6 minutes with
Yes.
his
That's all.
patient.
I don't know how much it is in the English-speaking world. In Switzerland, it's 14 minutes. But actually, I'm a psychoanalyst. I talk with people
For
50 hours, 50 hours, 50 minutes a week or twice a week, and maybe 50 times over the year or over 1.5 years. And it really takes some time to find out the causes.
Yeah.
Is it trauma or stress? And then to deal with the causes. So this is another thing. If you, like, for example, my father, I think it was intoxication, but he really had a deep Second World War trauma. So both together might even accelerate the process.
So, yeah.
And my mother had this loss of my father, but she was also traumatized in the Second World War. So it might all be together. And then they had this time after the war where they had a lot of stress because they didn't know where to live, they didn't have enough money, and so forth. So this might be also another cause. And you really have to get to the root of cancer and view the causes, and then see to transform or to change the causes.
Well, and actually this is what Lothar Hirnhausen says, really look for the causes, don't start with the treatment immediately, but look first for the causes.
Yes, and this is what also Bettina Flossmann said. She's a cancer survivor, she has her own healing path, embodimentally out of cancer, and she says it's very, very important to find the causes. And the causes might be rooted very deep in a feeling I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm shame, I'm whatever. To find that, there might be self-damaging belief system inside that scare you, that makes you afraid of things.
So you have to discover them and
You
relieve
really
them.
have to discover them. Which are your self-damaging beliefs that keep you stressed, although there might not be an outside stress, or they keep you in the trauma, although the trauma might be over, yes, and not to discover it. So a lot of people that are traumatized, they are maybe raped, they have a self-damaging belief, oh, I shouldn't talk about it, it's shameful and I might be guilty. So there is a trauma plus a self-damaging belief. If they have been raped and they say, oh, I go to the police, that shouldn't happen, I want to do something, then there is just the trauma. But combined with a self-damaging belief, it can be kept inside for 10, for 20, for 30 years and never appears.
And then it appears as an illness.
Yes, and that's what we call a secondary trauma often. And there might be also a third part trauma because you lose your friends, you might be looked upon in a funny way or so forth, so there might be social traumas following.
Okay, so let's wrap up a little bit. So we have the 4 causes of cancer. You said radiation and intoxication, you have the trauma, and you have the stress.
The long-time stress, not the short. If you have stress for a week, I think everybody can manage that.
Yes.
It's really a long-time stress. Like my mother, it took her, I think, after the death of my father, 2 to 3 years to develop the cancer. So it's a long-time sadness. It's a long-time inner isolation or something like that.
Also, this closing
Yes.
Internally.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to discuss this. I suppose we're going to go on further research how cancer develops and what are the whole cell system around it. I think this is another episode we will discuss.
Yes.
So let's be just in terms of, let's get a little bit out of, we're now having discussed a lot on the causes, so not to leave our audience in such a negative
yes, I think it's,
emotion.
yes, it's important to sort of transform the causes. So if the cause is trauma, it's really important to look psychologically at it. Maybe visit a psychotherapist and see what are the feelings kept in the trauma. That might be sadness, sorrow, there might be rage and anger or helplessness. It's really important to open up and get the emotions out, and then sort of find a mental attitude where you can sort of disidentify from the trauma and get a little bit space in between, a distance. And this is a psychoanalytic or psychotherapeutical process. You might be able to do it alone, but you can also look for some experts to do it.
Yes, somebody to help you, to
find
assist
the
you.
trauma that is deep, deep, deep inside you, and find solutions, and maybe even forgive. So there are a lot of steps to the process.
So
Find the trauma, identify the emotions, get rid of the emotions, de-identify, forgive, and then just let it move backwards in time. It's over.
And actually, Lothar Hinheisen, he said in his interview, in his speech also, that he is using lots of, let's say, inner voyages. And you are also a specialist on this.
Yes, you can also do that in parts of the process, to go back to the trauma, release the emotions, forgive, and change and find healing inner images. But we will talk about that in the next Vision Live.
Yeah, sure. But I think it's also this question, not only to go back to the trauma, you need to know where the trauma is.
Yes.
Just if you go into an inner voyage, I think just go inside and see what images are popping up. Yes. Because if you really go deeply inside, there will be images coming up.
Exactly.
If you take some time, it will not be immediately, and you may be not used to it. But there will be images coming up, and these images are deeply rooted in your body.
Yes, and if cancer is causes from long time stress, it's important to identify that. There might be a loss of a very intimate person before that. That might also be a loss of a career, or a lot of what is very basic to your life. So it's important to identify that and see which self-damaging beliefs have kept you in the stress, although it didn't feel well. So that might also be a psychotherapeutical journey, but you can do a lot of things to find it out yourself, and write a diary, maybe do some thankfulness, gratitude exercises, and to change the self-damaging beliefs, and to maybe, if it's a trauma caused by the loss of something very intimate, there might be work to do in crying and maybe anger too, and helplessness, and so forth. So, and then to piece this situation, maybe by inner images, by inner voyages. So there is really a lot you can do, and our experience is that, and our German specialists say 65% of cancer causes, it's due to psychosomatic conflicts.
Okay, so I think this was it for this episode. We will have other episodes. You can get the opportunity to follow us on our journey and our learning, because each time we are learning so much. It's such a great journey we are on. So we participate you in it, and just keep on following us, watching eVision Live. You find us on Facebook or on YouTube. Alexandra Kleeberg is your YouTube channel, and you can just subscribe to the YouTube channel, then you don't miss any episode.
Yes, and we have already our website.
Right.
Collective Healing /Campus English. and there you can subscribe to our congress
Online
and
campus.
to our newsletter that might come a few months before we start the campus in November.
So www.collectivehealing/campus.
Yes.
And depending on your language, it will bring you to the German or the English
Yes.
side.
Okay.
Thank you so much for following us, and please leave your comments below if you have any comments. And also don't forget, we have to talk about it, Alexandra and Bettina have their next open office hour on
June 2nd.
June 2nd on Beyond Lumps and Bumps.
Yes.
So it's your open office hour with Bettina on
Yes,
cancer.
and
And please, if you have any questions to ask to Alexandra as a psychoanalyst, as a psychotherapist, or Bettina as somebody who is really, has gone through a healing journey from cancer, just leave your questions below, and also you will find the link to participate live in this open office hour.
Yes, and we a few days ago we got an email from a person from South Africa. Her name is Miriam Reichel, and she might be there too. She has a very, very wonderful healing path and funny healing path from cancer, and I hope she will join this open office hour with us here in Bavaria.
She doesn't know about it yet.
She does know.
Oh, she does know
Yes.
that you will have
Yes,
it. Okay.
but she hasn't confirmed yet.
She hasn't confirmed yet if she will be available. But you will make an interview with her on her healing story.
Yes.
If I got it right, she had actually a death prognosis
Of 8 weeks.
8 weeks. Eight
That
more
was
weeks to live.
13 years ago.
Eight more weeks to live, and after 8 weeks she was, or even less, she was free of cancer. Or
She will tell us.
she will tell us. So just keep on tuned and follow our other episodes that will come. Thank you so much for being with us, and
Open your heart and start. To a happy, healthy, fulfilled life.
today's topic is, and the topic of the next weeks will be the topic of cancer, and the theme, the idea that it may be, jetzt habe ich mich aber doch versprochen, jetzt lassen wir mal